The map is Naro Station, also known as Neo Ohana because of all the PvPs we see on it.
I wouldn't say because of the map structure.
The joke is that Protoss has always come out on it, man.
Remember, we get more PvP on Fighting Spirit.
I guess they're both the new Ohana at this point.
It feels more like Intune Valley than Ohana. Because we just saw plenty of PvP back in Pro League.
I'm not seeing where you're going with this. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
You know what? I didn't see where you're going with Ohana either. So you know what?
All right,
1-1.
Well, regardless of that, we have Argo as the blue Protoss spawning up in the top right-hand position, and Stats as the red Protoss spawning as the other Protoss in the bottom left-hand position. KT Rolster. I wanted to talk a little bit more about that Twitter question I got about favorite Zerg players in the foreigner scene. And, I mean, of course, Stefano, I feel like that's a given. I even had the opportunity to meet him once while he was here in Korea. A pretty chill guy. And I, of course, you know, respect his immensely just, you know, skillful skill in StarCraft.
Speaking about skills, they're showing the hand shot from Stats.
Oh, man. Look at that pink mouse and the pink mouse. And he definitely has the same keyboard that I do.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
He doesn't?
Because KT Roaster is sponsored by Razer right now. They were also sponsored by Zowie back in the day, so now it's the two gears mixed in within one team.
Are they still sponsored by...
Well, it's funny about these Korean teams because they do get sponsored by the gears and they have the sponsor patches on the side, but they don't have to use the gear. It's a little different, you know. There was a whole little fiasco in the foreign scenes where the sponsor changed and they didn't switch the gear on the stream, and there was some little issues with that. It doesn't happen in the Korean scene.
I don't know. It's mixed, I guess. In the Korean scene, they're a little bit less reliant on the sponsors. They're more reliant on those really big companies like KT, Korean Telecom. You know, probably like a multi-billion-dollar company or something. At least
it's pretty much top two right now, along with SK Telecom T1. Think of Verizon and AT&T back in the States.
Like these teams, they got bank, man. They can pretty much provide these players with what they need. They're all right. They're doing fine.
Yeah. And also Samsung, we don't need an explanation about Samsung.
We don't. Not unless you've been living under a rock, which you guys haven't been, because you've been watching Pro League, so you know what's going on.
And if you are, you know, if you actually have a smartphone, then you know it's always a battle between Apple and Samsung. So you know how big Samsung is in this world.
That's true. All right, so looking at the game so far here, we are seeing a double gate opening from Stats here, but getting a sentry behind this and that mothership core, while Argo already attacking that cooling tower. I guess the cooling tower looked wrong at the Zalt there. He got angry, so he's going to be going ahead and attacking that. It will be a little bit easier for him to hold that natural expansion, and it looks like if he wants to kill that off, then he will be taking a fast expand off of this.
Yeah, I mean, look at Argo's face. He really wanted to destroy, but no, just doing it as much as possible and possibly cutting off that path if Stats actually decides to make on the top side.
We're seeing a 4 gate from Argo. He's making 4 gates right now. His warp gate is getting pretty close to done now. Whoa. We haven't seen this in a while, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't think we have any sentries out for Stats here. He's just been focusing on his Stalker play right now. He does have one sentry there, excuse me.
But the sentry is not at the ramp. Remember that he's drawing out the sentry towards the back of the main base just to draw it out there to make sure the force field does not go off in time. Now, because of the mothership cannon, Argo is going to need to get a lot of units out in order to make this work. First, he needs to get the sentry, and then just force the Nexus Cannon, fight outside of the range, but the probe!
Argo getting a Robo and Twilight behind this, so I guess it won't be a 4 gate. Never mind. It was. I guess I completely...
No, I was thinking it was a 3 gate, but I was running off from you, and...
Sorry, I just made a huge mistake, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wait.
Apologies.
What happened is, Stats started with the 2 gates, and then we just switched the colors for a few seconds by accident. So, apologies about that. Argo,
I saw 3 gates go up, so I was like really wondering what was going on there.
Okay. Now Argo just gonna play Blink Ops, you know, really standard. You know, of course he could take an expansion right behind this because he was going for the cooling tower. It's easy to take it down as soon as possible. Stats following up with the same build. getting the Robo up for himself. His Robo is going to get delayed, but both players now, it depends on their Stalker Blink Micro.
Oh, that's true. I'm actually like, I could have sworn I saw 3 gateways in production there.
We could double check in the VOD later.
Yeah, if one of you guys that are watching right now actually knows for a fact that there is 2 or 3 gateways in production, just tweet at me, at YeahWhiplash. Let me know if I'm crazy or not, because this is getting to me. Generally, I don't let these kind of things get to me, but I'm just like, I could have sworn I saw 3 gates in production, and there was already 1 done.
Well, it was also my fault, because I should have double-checked as soon as you said that, so it happens.
All right, well, getting back to the game here, both players are still quite even at the moment. They both essentially went for my identical builds, a little bit different, but overall they're ending up to be the same here. And it looks like Stats' Blink here. It will finish momentarily here, just a little bit before Argo, and now Argo moving back. But I think both players at this point have realized that they ended up going for the same build, and both players making an Immortal now. Behind this, it looks like Stats wants to go ahead and take his expansion here, but Argo, he's going to see everything that's going on in his opponent's base here.
But that Observer is not going to live for long. Goodbye. With the second shot.
Observer is last week's news here, and now an expansion going down for Argo, so he will be the first one taking an expansion here, but Stats following up right after. Basically the same timing, so not a big deal regardless, and I feel like we're going to see some more Wings action, man. Wings of Liberty PvP action.
They're playing it so Wings of Liberty style right now, getting the Immortals out, and both players are going to put down the Robo Bay, unless they want to go for the Immortal Sky Toss composition that we saw before. But on a map like this, where it's so small compared to the other maps out there, you know, it's risky. Your opponent can hit a timing where they just barge in before there's critical number of Voidways, and you're not going to be able to survive the timing, so it's better. I feel like it's better for Protoss players to just take into Colossus first and then start adding the Stargate army instead of trying to go for the Stargate really early on this map.
Yep. And nice snipe there. Both players grabbing an Observer. And I completely agree with you on that. Getting the Stargate after you get your Colossus tech online. I was actually like just going to say that, but you beat me to it. So I think that's the best way to handle things. You can also go into the Storm tech if you see your opponent going for that Sky Toss, but it just depends, man. And then you can also go into either of the Void Rays, or you can go into the Tempest tech.
Forge for Stats, but Argo getting his first Colossus, so let's see what Stats decides to do. Okay, he's going to follow up with the Robo Bay, but he's going to be behind 1 Colossus throughout the whole game unless he gets the second Robo earlier than his opponent, Argo.
Yeah, he is getting that Forge quite fast here, though. Not used to seeing a Forge so fast with PvP here. Already starting that +1 attack, but Argo, he does scout that. We do see a Forge go down from him around the same time as well, so you know what? The Colossus tech for Stats will be a little bit behind, and the upgrades will be a little bit behind for Argo.
But do remember, Stats have up to 3 Immortals, and Argo just going to start chrono boosting out more Colossus at this point. So now it's feeling a lot more like Wings of Liberty, but we need to wait and see what these players go for the end game composition. You know, we saw some battles where it was a Wings of Liberty style Colossus Ground War army, but we saw some end game composition where some Tempests were mixed in, or some Void Rays were mixed in, and even Storms to deal against the Sky Toss. So anything is possible in this matchup, and it really depends on how much time they buy to get to the late game and who attacks into their opponent first.
All right, now it looks like Argo potentially getting aggressive here. He does see the high Immortal count here, though, and I think that's going to force him back. And wow, getting a very fast third behind this as well. I guess he is just very confident that he can take a third safely over his opponent here, and I guess if you think about it, the Immortals, they're great for defense in this situation, and at the same time, Stats getting an expansion of his own here.
Stats is saying that since I have more Immortals, I could defend against Argo's timing push no matter what. So I'm going to go for the expansion, and I'll be safe. Argo also saying, well, he has up to 3 Immortals, but that means that I can use the Force Fields to cut him out if my opponent goes for the counterattack at the third base. And I'm going to get more Colossus out for myself. He doesn't have any Colossus, so I could take the third relatively easily. So both players pretty much saying, I can take the third base, I can defend it, and let's look towards the mid-game, towards the late game, for the big 2-0-0 fight.
Double Robo on the way for Argo here. His second one just completed. Stats will scout this here, and it looks like his double robo has also finished as well, so that means we have a quad robo on the map total, combining both players together.
Of course, just a little math over there, but look at this. Stats trying to start trading away his army with Blink Stalkers, trying to go for the probes as much as possible at the natural.
Yeah, it looks like it. Sending a few of those Stalkers in there. Going to be able to get a few probe kills here. Nexus Cannon going down. Now the Colossi has joined the fight here. And, oh, that one Stalker. It does get out, though.
Seems like he actually didn't blink using that one.
Yeah. Which is weird because I think they all, like, were meant to blink there.
Yeah.
But
usually one Stalker does out and then stays inside the natural and then dies, but just didn't happen today.
Yeah. Now, if we look at the overall, I guess, battle here, battle plan from both players, Stats is ahead in supply by a little bit right now. He's getting charge as well behind this, getting more gateways up, really just focusing heavily on his economy. We're not seeing any type of Stargate tech from either player yet, so I think that we may just see the normal War of the Worlds here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any charge from Argo. He has the money to go for it, but instead he's just trying to get the Colossus out as fast as possible, trying to replenish the probes that he lost at the natural. Yeah. And that's going to cost him a little at this point because, you know, he does have the higher Colossus count, but his opponent went for the Templar Archives first. The charge is fit halfway done for Stats, which means that he's going to be one who has the map coverage and map control, and he's going to be the one who engages first into his opponent's army, so he needs to follow up with a charge right away, and he does so.
Yeah, and both players grabbing their Templar Archives as well and getting a lot of gateways as well. Both players making, like, I think, like up to 6 more, adding them into their army composition, or I guess building composition right now. And everything looking pretty similar between both players. We have a few more Colossi out for Argo here, and he's actually up to 60 probes here. Stats up to 66. Now the Templar are out, and we're going to be seeing some Archons momentarily here. Not any Storm, because there's no Sky Toss here. The Colossi kind of just outrange them, but the Archons are still quite useful here, and really just wing style, man. And I mean, it makes me wonder, why don't either of these players go for the Sky Toss?
It's kind of hard to do so at this point, because, you know, if you only have one Stargate, you're not going to have enough Void Age in time to defend against any timing attacks. So you need to commit a little bit heavily into the Stargate, you know, getting 2 or 3 Stargates out. And there's a huge timing window where your opponent can abuse the timing and just go for a counter attack and win the game. And both players, since they know that it's a Colossus Wars, you know, they want to go for a better composition with Sky Toss, but they just can't do it until they max out and start banking on those Stargates. So we need Argo and Stats, they're just waiting to see when they max out, and then they can start adding in the Stargates into their composition.
Alright, well, it looks like Stats is moving across the map here. He's getting ready to attack this third base here, almost maxed out at the same time. 198 supply to 188, but Stats, he has a few more probes over his opponent here, and preventing that pollen from going down there, but yep, there we go. Still, I don't know if either player will engage in this scenario.
They're just trying to play as safe as possible, but look at the positioning of Stats. Since he was able to push out a little bit earlier, he could take the 4th base relatively easily at the right bottom base because his opponent cannot easily push out in this little area.
Oh, I like this. Using that War Prism with the charge lots, he's going to potentially try to drop this in the main base during this attack here. And is Stats going to move in here? This is not the best position for him to attack into, but at the same time, Argo, he does not want to attack into that, but is he going to go for it anyway? We have that War Prism moving into the main here. Time Warp going down from Argo's side, but still no huge commitments from either end.
Well, he was only pouring out the focus over there, attention over there, because he wants to go for the Forge inside the main base.
If that Forge goes down, then we're going to see a huge attack, and Argo moving out now against this army. Time Warp's going down on one of the sides here. It still could go either way from either player here, but it's still, we have reinforcements coming in from both sides here. It looks like Stats may have a few more units here, but there's still one Immortal up, and Stats looking pretty solid here. Will be able to beat back this army. I think his 3-3 just completed in time here, and with these reinforcements, he will force Argo back, and things, oh, if he gets the Templar Archives, that's going to be really bad as well for Argo here, and this is just looking very, very bad now. The supply is 145 to 96 at this point. The charge lot's moving in. GG!
Argo knew that he couldn't defend against the Zealous inside the main base because he was supply capped. That's the reason why he went for the attack. However, his opponent stats actually warped in Zealous faster, and since the pylon was right next to Argo's Colossus, they just attached to the Colossus and start ripping them out one by one.
So overall, very, very smart moves by Stats, essentially forcing his opponent to make hard decisions.
But also nice decision by Argo not going back to